Hey folks, JodoCast again, and a lot of you guys would know and would have seen that I've been working on a kit for building a Nerf version of the M41A Pulse Rifle from the Aliens movies. Aliens is my favourite movie of all time. Some of you guys would have seen my other versions of the Nerf Pulse Rifle. I've also done a Nerf Sentry Gun from the Aliens movie as well, which there's videos on YouTube on my channel. Check it out. Go have a look for Nerf Sentry Gun. Now, what I've been working on is trying to make the Pulse Rifle, a Nerf version of the Pulse Rifle, much easier. The original one I did was hand cut with a box cutter, Stanley knife, whatever you want to call it, out of ABS sheeting, and then it was then glued together to give you some sort of rendition of this, you know, like that was a single side piece. You know, you've got your different profiles, they're all glued together to build your shroud, which is a very long and difficult way of sort of doing it. You guys would have seen that I've been doing 3D printed stuff, and I came up with the idea of, well, why can't I design and print a 3D shroud for the Pulse Rifle to make it just a hell of a lot easier for anyone wanting to build one. I've spent a lot of time and energy trying to design a 3D printed Pulse Rifle kit that looks to be a very good representation of the original Pulse Rifle from the movie, but also integrates working Nerf blasters. Now, I'm just about nailed down a version that will use either a Retaliator or a Recon. You basically use your Retaliator or your Recon as your starting point. This is one that I've sort of modified up to use. It's not finished just yet, but you get the idea. I've turned it into a side priming mechanism. There's a slot cut out there to put an LCD display for your counter on there. So this one has had seal improvement, air restrictor removal, and a 5 kilo Orange Modworks spring fitted, so it actually shoots pretty good. The magazine section of the blaster basically comprises of, you have your magazine well, there'll be a magazine base, which what you'll have to do is get a magazine and cut it down to fit. So that's a 12 dart magazine. You could use an 18 or a 12. You just have to trim a little bit off it to get it to exactly the right size for it to fit into the blaster. You'd glue that into the base, and then that would in turn slot in through your magazine opening. This is straight off the printer. I haven't sanded this or anything. Oh, that bevel around the outside edge there, you have to sand that down for it to fit through the magazine well. But yeah, look, there's one that I've already done where that's been sanded down. That's a cut down 18 mag that's been glued into the base, and as you can see, it basically inserts in there beautifully. And that's been shortened to the exact length so that it will hold into the Retaliator. The other portion is, so you've got your magwell, your base, and then the other portion is you've got these side plates that actually slot in to either side of your magwell there to give you your completed magazine section, which that's the one that I've been working on at the moment. This one's straight off the printer. Now these prints are straight off the printer. I've literally done nothing to them. There's been no sanding, no acetone treating, nothing. All I've done is knock the support material off them and haven't even done that completely. But the details are already there. Like you've got your armor plate on the front with a couple of screws. There's the armor plate on the back with your screws. The detail on the magazine lock, that's all there. So the surround for your for the counter display, it's all part of the print. So that's that type of thing. Here's one that I've done previous that I've been working on. Now that will, the blaster will accept that and it will lock in using the magazine release. Now this will then be actually attached to the blaster itself, so that your magazine release will actually release the magazine from the bottom of the well. There we go. Yeah. So your magazine comes out and you load your magazine, and it's actually the magazine lock is what holds it into place. So prime, and as you can hear, that is shooting quite hard. So there's your blaster with the magazine section on. Now this is the first version of the Shroud. Actually, the first part you have to do before you put the magazine in is the front gun. You have to get a long shot front gun. It needs to be modified. Basically, the top section gets chopped off, inverted and glued onto the bottom here to create this effect. You chop the knob off there. The printed front pump grip will go straight on to where the original pump grip went on. It fits exactly the same way. You have screws to hold it together. It slots together. Your metal rod that went through originally still goes through, so your long shot front gun will still actually function. So the grenade launcher part is still a functional blaster. You can suit these up as much as you like. You know, I'll just pull the air restrictor out of it and what have you, and it shoots a tiny little bit better, but you get the idea. So that's your front gun. So that will actually attach on to the front of the blaster, so that gives you your length. Then your magazine section will go on. So there's your magazine section. Now the Shroud section is, you get a Raider stock. You basically chop the section out of the Raider stock to try and make it look a little bit more like it. Now you have to open this up, thread this section here through the back part of the housing, which looks like this. So you thread the back part of the stock through, and then with it exposed, hanging out the back section, you then slip this section back on and then do your screws together. So it's basically now fixed in, or captive in there. Now, what essentially you'll do is that goes on, slides back, and then the stock mount will move forward and click onto the back of the blaster. Then you slide your housing forward, or your Shroud forward, so that it sits into place. And as you can see, it's starting to come together. Now, I have designed and printed a front barrel section, which looks like this, which will sit up the front here. And then your barrel will go straight through. Now, I've actually purchased barrel material off by China. This is made by Worker, the same guys that do the Worker stocks and pump grips, etc. So that's actually made by them. So I went and picked up a few lengths of that. So essentially that will sit through the heatsink section at the front here, just protrude a little bit, and then you feed that back through the Shroud. That will go through the ring at the front of on the long shot front gun section, and then into the front of the blaster at the back there. So essentially giving you that as your completed look to the blaster. Then, which you know, I know all you guys have got an imagination, otherwise we wouldn't be doing what we do, right? So then you're looking at cleaning it up, giving it maybe a bit of a brush with acetone on the ABS sections just to smooth them right out. Give them a sand back, and then a paint job, and you've got an M41A Pulse Rifle, or a very reasonable looking rendition thereof. The kit is coming together. This is the Generation 1 that you're looking at in the blue. This is the Generation 2 kit that I'm working on currently. It's got a little more detail to it. There's a few little details in the back section here. You've got this additional bracket that underslings here, which is a little more screen accurate. It basically is a piece together, glue together kit. So obviously, because you can't print it all in one big piece, so the shroud will be basically assembled. Your back section slots in, and your front section slots in at the front here. Oh yeah, the middle top section, that's got like dowels and locators on it, so that will slot in to the top section and bottom section simultaneously. Get that on the inside, and yeah, that's how your shroud will assemble. So what you do is you'd obviously glue that together with. I would suggest using probably an epoxy resin, or if you can get your hands on a proper ABS solvent type glue, that will really hold it together properly, and that gives you your shroud as a single piece. And then obviously you've seen the magazine, how the magazine comes. You've got your two side plates and the upper and lower of the magazine. And then you've got your heatsink section of the barrel, which is a separate piece. So essentially, that's what the kit will comprise of. You can see what the end result is. I'm just perfecting it at the moment, just getting it so that I'm 100% happy with it, so that I know it will print nicely, and then I will open it up so that it can be ordered. Just working the kinks out, just so that it's trying to make it as easy as possible to assemble. So that you guys are, well, everyone out there, you don't have to have some ridiculous level of modding skill in order to be able to put this thing together. So that's sort of what I'm working on at the moment. I want it to be at a point where it takes minimal adjustment, sanding, etc. to get it to a nice finish. And this at the moment is basically just sitting in place with this, not a piece of glue or anything holding this on at the moment. It's basically just sort of held into place by friction fitting and what have you. And it sits on there. The only other thing at the moment, like what I'm working on, is there needs to be a trigger mechanism for the long shot front gun brought back to give you a trigger in the magazine well at the front there. So I'm going to have a look at a design for that and get that down as well, so that you've got that secondary grenade launcher at the front there as well that actually fires. But there you go, you sort of see where I'm at with it at the moment. It's very close to being finished. I'm hoping to try and get the kit to around the $280 Australian price point. It's a compromise. These are large parts. Some of these parts take 17 hours to print and use nearly 80 meters of ABS plastic. Because of that reason, they actually become quite expensive. Not to mention the fact that I have spent hundreds of hours designing this. This is something I have been working on for literally years. It has been something that, my original pulse rifle that I built was a couple of years ago, and I have been working on it ever since, working on producing a kit. And technology basically has advanced that much in the meantime that I have been able to come up with this as an option, which I think is a highly viable option. Yeah, look, it may be a little bit more expensive, but this kit is going to be so much easier for you guys out there to actually throw something together and get yourself a decent looking pulse rifle without having to have a high level of modifying skill. So there you go. So that's where I'm at with the Nerf Pulse Rifle Kit. It's coming together, as you can see. Alright, thanks very much for watching. Sorry for it being so long-winded, but there's a lot to explain. As I make advancements and get it closer to being released and nailing down the print densities and pricing, etc., because that's all related, I'll post up again so that you guys can see where we're at, and I'll make a grand announcement once they're available and ready to to be produced and sold. I'm probably going to have to build a couple as part of the development process. So there will probably be a few completed pulse rifles available for sale. So keep your eye out for that. I think that's about it. All right. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next mod. Cheers.